I just try to eat as clean as possible.
Uh-oh. Oh, man. What's up, guys? Jeff Cavaliere, AthleanX.com.
Jesse Lako, AthleanX.com.
Let's review Mark Wahlberg's diet. We know he's been lean for a lot of years. What's the secret? Let's find out.
I got up, I take my vitamins, I drink my water, I have a little zinc, dissolvable zinc tablet.
Okay, so music to my ears right off the bat. Gets up, drinks water.
That's what you do every day.
Every day. So the important thing that I think you should do, guys, is adopt a routine of getting up and first thing doing, maybe pee first, but then drink water. I drink 2 glasses of water. And the reason why is I believe we can't get behind on hydration and then play catch up all day long.
Yeah.
Instead, for a lot of us chronically dehydrated people, we need to start drinking early in the morning, water. And then make sure that we're getting ahead of that curve. The second thing is he talks about taking zinc. So zinc is one of those nutrients that we can't store or make ourselves, so we have to get it through some other means.
Okay.
Now, it's pretty readily available, so taking it in supplemental form may not be necessary, but when you're talking about when you should take it, I would say definitely take it in the morning because it's easier to absorb on an empty stomach.
Right.
So doing it at this time makes total sense. Whether or not you want to do it or not, it does have some good benefits for men in terms of recovery, boosting testosterone and immunity.
And then I have a triple espresso.
Triple espresso has less caffeine than a venti coffee from Starbucks.
Are you serious?
Half the amount. So there's 400 milligrams of caffeine in a single venti coffee. There's about 190 or 200 in a triple espresso.
Oh, man.
It sounds really powerful, but it's not. And by the way, that amount of caffeine is probably the perfect amount to give you the energy that you need without maybe some of the side effects that cause some jitters.
Upset stomach.
Upset stomach. Like, we don't have to get that. So it is actually the perfect amount. Just sounds like a lot, I grant you that.
And then I'll have my creatine and my branched chain aminos while I'm working out.
Okay, creatine, branched chain aminos. A lot of people give branched chain aminos a lot of shit.
Yeah.
No? A lot.
Yeah.
There are actual clinical studies that show a decrease in delayed onset muscle soreness if you preload your training with branched chain amino acids. There's definitely evidence that shows that they help diminish that and in turn help to promote recovery. So are they direct muscle builders? No, I don't think that aminos are any different than protein in that way. I don't think that they're direct muscle builders in some magical formula, but in their ability to help with recovery, then you're gonna be able to have some impact on overall muscle growth down the line. And on top of that, there are studies too that show when you're calorie restricted, which we really haven't gotten to see yet, how calorie restricted he might be, they have the ability to preserve muscle mass. Now, creatine, no doubt about it, one of the best supplements you could possibly take.
Yeah.
I think everybody unequivocally should be taking creatine if they're looking to make gains.
Yeah.
2 different forms of creatine, hydrochloride or monohydrate, they act exactly the same in terms of what they do. Some people have an easier time with hydrochloride than monohydrate on their stomach, but that's a totally individualistic thing, and that only happens to about 15% of the people. So no problem with what he's taking for me.
About 45 minutes after the workout this morning, I had 5 eggs. I had 2 hard-boiled eggs and 3 scrambled eggs. I had a pork chop with just a little bit of salt and pepper on it. I had wild smoked salmon, some Greek yogurt, and berries.
It's a big ass breakfast.
Honestly, I don't think that was that much. He described 5 eggs, 3 scrambled, 2 hard-boiled eggs, pork chop is a small portion, essentially like steak and eggs, no?
Yeah.
And then he was just talking about some lox or some salmon with some berries and Greek yogurt. Like, it's not that, it really isn't that much. And if it sounds like a lot to you, I would start to suggest that as you get more conscientious in terms of cleaning up the types of foods that you eat, then you're gonna see that you can have more food. Because when you have healthier food options, you're gonna be able to eat more of them.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're just not packing that caloric punch that comes with a lot of processed foods.
Right.
And then I had green juice with moringa. That was at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Adding on top of it. Told you it's a lot. Now, is green juice a bunch of bullshit?
Some people say that. I don't believe that at all. As a matter of fact, the way I view greens drinks is really as an insurance policy, right? So if you're taking your vitamins, you're getting more micronutrients, you're getting things that you might be overlooking somewhere else. And what's the harm in a green juice? I actually think they're beneficial. I use one myself, so I don't disagree with the use of that. Now the moringa, I have to ask what his intentions are here, because there's 2 reasons why I know people take moringa. Number 1, it sort of helps with boosting immunity, right? But the other side of it, some people claim that it burns belly fat. It does not. Or at least there's no studies that I know in humans that show that it can do anything for burning fat.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But it's an overall immune booster or recovery booster, then again, why not?
At 11 o'clock, I had chicken breast, chicken thigh, sweet potato, broccoli, a bowl of fruit, blueberry, blackberry, raspberry, strawberry, and then I had a handful of pistachios and I had a handful of almonds.
Are you kidding me? That sounds like a ton of food.
Now see what's happening here is you're just getting thrown off by the dings. You hear all those dings?
Yeah, but
The dings were throwing you. Well, let me try it on you. What'd you have for breakfast?
pancakes, bacon, eggs,
See?
sausage.
See how it works? See what I mean?
All right, I get it. I get it. No,
but
okay.
see-
Stop.
see how-
Stop. I
see?
don't need to hear it anymore.
Okay.
Oh my God.
All right. See, but that's what I'm saying. You're just thrown off by the dings.
All right, fair enough. But can we play that back?
Why, you need to hear it again?
Yes, I need to hear it
Okay,
again.
so let's play one more time. Concentrate on the foods. So you can, not the dings, the foods.
At 11 o'clock, I had chicken breast, chicken thigh, sweet potato, broccoli, a bowl of fruit, blueberry, blackberry, raspberry, strawberry, and then I had a handful of pistachios and I had a handful of almonds.
All right. So the first thing is he says chicken breast, chicken thighs. Do you know why he does that?
No.
I'm gonna take a guess because obviously I don't know directly. A lot of times people, in the same way that they will mix and match egg whites and full eggs for the yolk, they might do that with chicken as well.
Okay.
So that there's some leaner chicken and then the chicken thighs have a little bit extra fat.
Got it.
So knowing that the extra fat's gonna help, I think that might be why he does that.
Okay.
Then he has a bunch of different berries, which again, like, why stop at one berry? If
Yeah.
you've got access to a lot of berries, more berries taste better than one berry.
Hey, I love to eat berries, and I have a big bowl of berries every night.
Let's see what else we got.
2 o'clock, I had salmon sashimi, crab salad with a little cucumber, and a couple pieces of chicken breast. And tonight I'll have a nice steak, some sea bass or halibut, something, and a vegetable.
All right, so I heard a couple things. Number one, he said he used to get it 2. So I have 8 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
That's
So
every 3 hours?
That's like that every 3-hour deal. Now, I'm a big believer in the value of eating every 3 hours. I know that's an old bodybuilding remnant, but I think that what it does is it controls cravings and it helps people to stay more stabilized from a blood sugar level. So there's less cravings. And when you know that the next meal is coming pretty quickly, if you have a hard time with the willpower to resist snacking in between, it's a lot easier to do when you know that's coming.
Does it also like control your portions for each meal to make sure you're hungry for the next one?
I think so. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of benefits to just keeping that regular timing, so much so that I recommend eating specifically around the clock if you have access to do that.
I remember you talking about that a bunch of times.
The one thing that I'm hearing that I don't like, I didn't hear any more sweet potatoes here, right? And not just because I love those, I didn't hear pasta, I didn't hear rice, I didn't hear any more of those starchy carbohydrates. I don't believe that having carbohydrates, starchy carbohydrates, are something you can't do and obtain leanness. It's something that I've done now for my entire life. Starchy carbohydrates for the last 35, 40 years. Don't avoid starchy carbohydrates. Just allocate only, let's say, 25% of every meal to the starchy carbohydrates.
So the portion sizes are the most important factor.
It is, because they're also the foods that can become easily overeaten.
Yeah.
But just control the portion sizes there, double the amount of those fibrous carbohydrates, those vegetables on top, than you have of the starchy carbohydrates, and I think you'll be fine.
I just try to eat as clean as possible.
Uh-oh.
Oh man,
Oh, I know this one.
it's a trigger word.
It is a trigger word for you.
But let me clarify, if Mark Wahlberg says, I eat clean, I believe him. If you walk around at low levels of body fat and say you eat clean, then of course I likely believe what you're saying.
Yeah.
But far too many people label themselves as clean eaters and they don't have any visible abs, they don't have a shred of muscle definition. I can assure you, you don't eat clean, because how you eat will determine your levels of body fat, and clean eating sometimes isn't always
As
what
clean
it is.
as you think
As
it
clean
is.
as you think it is.
I've had the worst eating habits, and I do want to, let's have a little disclaimer here. If I explain my schedule or my eating habit, let's not let your imagination run wild. And last time I did this, it got out of hand, and people thought I took an hour and a half long shower.
Can you put that schedule back up? I want
hold
to
on.
point something out.
Hold on, right there.
All right. You see right here?
Yeah.
I want to know what golf course he's going to where he ends around in like an
2
hour and a
hours?
half. Like an hour and a half, 2
Oh,
hours.
because you got to be back in the cryo chamber by 9:30.
Yeah, because if that's the case, I want to play at that course.
Right,
Because
okay.
I don't want a 5-hour round anymore.
All right. Well, it is definitely an interesting schedule. If you haven't had a chance, pause it right now. Take a look at that schedule.
Yeah.
You might have some questions also. But can we go back to the other thing he was saying? He talked about having some strange eating habits. Can I admit to some strange eating habits?
Of course you can.
Can I have a
Jeff.
therapy session right here with my audience?
Absolutely.
So I had some pretty big obsessions along the way too, and along the way to learning the right way to eat. And I think that's the thing here with Mark Wahlberg. Like he's talked about kind of these ups and downs of following these fads or getting off track. I think that's natural for anyone out there who's pursuing this, who's not actually just giving up, but trying to pursue a path to better nutrition. You're gonna fall off the wagon sometimes. What I did was I became so scared of dietary fat that I avoided all of it. And I've talked about that many times before, to the point where I couldn't even tolerate sunlight because my eyes have become so photosensitive. That's a bad thing. The second thing that I did was I then realized that dietary fats were good. So about 3 years later, I was in college and I would pack a little tiny Tupperware with sunflower oil. Get some omega-6s to balance out my omega-3s. And I used to pack it in my bag and hope it wouldn't go rancid throughout the day. And then in between class, I'd sneak out to my car because I was too embarrassed to have it, because I would drink it right up out of the Tupperware container.
My
Straight
goodness.
straight oil with a protein bar, and then get back to class. So I'd have my protein with some dietary fats, and then sometimes I even do it if I was in the mall shopping. I would leave the store I was in because it said 2 o'clock and I had to go there. So if you think that I've always had my nutrition locked in, you're mistaken, sadly. But,
I get that. You remember my gummy bear obsession.
yes, I do.
Yeah.
So we've evolved, as hopefully Mark has, and you will too.
If I was actually smart, I would have listened to the people that told me how to do things right a long time ago, but I was hard-headed and thought I knew everything, like most people I talk to nowadays. It's sad that it took me till I was 52 years old to figure it out. If only I would have done this long ago, I think I'd have had another nice little 15-year run at doing more physical movies.
Nobody ever regrets things that they didn't eat,
Yeah.
right? They regret the things they ate. And more than that, athletes oftentimes say exactly this to me. If I only could have taken my nutrition more seriously, if I'd only taken my training more seriously, I could have had a lot more life to my career, or I could have even played better while I played.
I'm actually training smart now, so I'll do upper body, lower body, 3 days on, day off, 2 days on, day off.
So you can't talk about like nutrition and Mark Wahlberg, given his physique, and not talk about the other part of the equation, which is training. What I'm imagining he's describing here is an upper-lower split, but with an anterior-posterior or push-pull focus. So let's say upper push, lower posterior chain, like glutes and hamstrings, upper pull, and then a day off, and then lower anterior, the quads, and then go back to upper push. So you continue to circle that and cycle that around on a 3 on 1 off, 2 on 1 off.
Yeah.
And what that does is it really promotes recovery. Because even though he's doing upper body only split apart by 1 rest day, or it's not even a rest day, it's a leg day in between, he's doing an entirely different focus.
Yeah.
Pulling muscles versus pushing muscles, and they allow that extra recovery time.
And recovery, as we know, is extremely important for building muscle.
I think the theme here is recovery is extremely important, not just for us 50-year-old guys, but really for people who are a lot younger than us to set the stage for a lot better 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, right?
I'm putting as much emphasis now on rest and recovery as I am like time under tension and intensive training. I learned the hard way. I was training 7 days a week, 2 times a day, and eating 8 meals a day. I couldn't digest the protein I was eating. I was doing it all wrong.
I mean, I like this because he's talking openly about some of the mistakes that he made. And again, I think we've all made them. Anybody in my age bracket has made tons of these mistakes. Hopefully the guys your age and below are making fewer of them because there's good resources out there now, like our YouTube channel and others, that allow you to find out the mistakes ahead of time and not so you don't make them.
Yeah.
Then I started fasting, and it was like, well, I don't have to do cardio twice a day if I'm fasting, or I'm just eating the right amount of protein and eating at the right times.
And I don't know if I would throw fasting into a fad. Like, I think he's sort of lumping it in with the rest of the stuff, but fasting can be very effective, especially for people who are grazers, right? Who have body fat accumulation and weight issues because they graze all day long. Having a clock that restricts you to a certain window of eating can be a really helpful tool to prevent that from happening. But ultimately, at the end of the day, all he's talking about here is if he is controlling the amount of calories in by limiting the window of time he can eat in, then no, he doesn't have to focus as much on the calories out portion of the equation. Because ultimately, calories in, calories out will determine the levels of weight lost, right? And then of course, the prioritizing of protein that he's been doing here will help him to maintain the majority of that as muscle, right? So not losing much muscle in the process of losing fat. So he's doing a lot of things right, and I think that's pretty cool to see.
Breakfast, bacon, pancakes, sausage, maple syrup. That's pretty good.
Clearly all foods that are not in his meal plan.
You're right. I didn't hear any of those things early on when he described his breakfast, but doesn't mean that they can't still smell really good.
That's true.
I have not lost my smell. Do you know, by the way, that smell is the sense that is most directly tied to memory?
I did not know that.
So if you smell, let's say, a perfume of an ex, then you would instantly remember her because you smell that. Look, it could be a food too. I'm just saying that if you know the association, you realize you can still have a great memory of amazing smells.
Or terrible memories.
Or terrible memories.
As long as I do the cheat meal right this time, because what I'm thinking about is like, okay, I gotta have either some tequila, and I'll have chocolate, and I'll have some other dessert, and 5 different kinds of pasta. Sometimes I'll walk around in the bakery section and just look and think about all the things that I would want to eat, but then I know if I took one of each and ate them, I would probably not feel so good after.
I mean, the thing about cheat meal is it's supposed to be a cheat meal. He seemed to describe every single item in the pastry case. Like, more is good sometimes, but not always better.
Yeah.
Right. The only thing that's good with more is probably money and side delts. You can never get enough. But when we're talking about cheat meals, if you do honor it as a single cheat meal, I don't have a problem with it. Matter of fact, I think a lot of times people respond more favorably if they've been really clean eating all the way up until this point. I could go out and have a meal that departs from what I normally eat, but because I eat so clean all the time, I almost look better physically.
You look full.
Yeah, it just comes down to there's a limit always, and cheat meals should not become cheat days.
I'm Mark Wahlberg, and that's what my diet looks like, boring and repetitive. But thank you for your time.
I mean, I disagree. Maybe he feels like it's a little less exciting, but I don't think if it was boring, he'd actually be able to repeat it. So if you're out there, guys, remember, boring, what are you doing?
I'm following Mark Wahlberg's meal plan.
He didn't say that that's what he...
Only thing that was giving me any comfort was a really tall, ice-cold jumbo beer at the end of the day.
Oh my God. Anyway.
Delicious.
So if you think age is making it harder for Mark Wahlberg to stay in shape, wait till you see what RFK does to stay in shape. Guys, check out that review right here. And if you're looking for a complete playlist of our reviews, you're gonna find them right here. If you haven't done so, subscribe. And full meal plans and workouts and supplements available over at athleanx.com. Enjoy your beer, Jesse.
Oh, I will.